Ah! Uncle Welt, your hometown really is full of hidden talents. The solar system is full of hidden talents. Everyone has their own unique skills. In any case, I can confirm that Miss Alicia, like Eno, is one of our companions. Oh, since we're companions, there's no need to be so formal. Everyone can just call me Ellie. Himeko turned to Eno. Let's get back to the present. What did you mean just now? Eno thinks Miss Firefly isn't dead. After the mimetic entity pierced her, she ended up in Reverie, Dreamscape, a secluded, primordial dreamscape that isn't open to the public. I suspect Robin's situation is the same. The mimetic entity isn't so much a terrifying monster as it is a means of transportation from the 12 dreamscapes to Reverie. So Miss Firefly and Miss Robin are both in Reverie right now? Miss Firefly has already returned to the 12 dreamscapes with me. Robin, judging by when she died, she should still be in Reverie at the moment. Star breathed a long sigh of relief. Her true identity is better revealed by herself. Whatever her motives were toward you before, they weren't fake. She's someone we can work with. In Reverie, I also found leads related to Tiernan and Lazarina, Eno added. As for Mikhail, I'll need to get clues from Gallagher. His current identity is a Hound family security officer, but given his ties to the Enigmata, he could be an imaginary historian. If an imaginary historian's ability is strong enough, they can lie to themselves, Himeko said. So even if we probe his mind, we might get false memories or a tangle of truth and lies. That's a major discovery, Welt said. Now let's talk about our side. Just before you arrived, the company's envoy extended an olive branch and accused that Sea Ranger. Acheron, she isn't actually a Sea Ranger, she's an Annihilation gang member. Why she presented herself as a Sea Ranger in Penacony, I don't know. That makes it even more suspicious. Can we trust Topaz's accusation? Himeko sighed softly. At this point, the only people we can truly trust are ourselves. We have to gather information, list possibilities, and eliminate contradictions. The fewer facts left, the closer we get to the truth. Eno, if we want to enter Reverie, must we use a mimetic entity? Not necessarily, but it does require a true death. If someone merely tries to kill themselves in a dream, they'll wake back up. Conventional methods won't work. With two major incidents back to back, the family won't let just anyone near a mimetic entity. Yet, from our negotiations, their representatives acted like they didn't even know Reverie existed. The subordinates there might genuinely be unaware, Welt said, but a primordial dreamscape so connected to the Watchmaker, if the heads of the 5 families claim ignorance, I don't buy it. March 7th looked between Himeko and Eno. So what do we do about the family and about Topaz? I think we should maintain friendly relations and cooperate with the family. This is their territory, after all, Himeko answered. As for Topaz, Welt, what do you think? He isn't simple. He lowered himself in talks with the Trailblazers, but his words constantly put them on the defensive. Rationally and emotionally, his arguments were persuasive. He claimed he wasn't forcing us, but his intent was clear. Still, in this uncertain situation, building connections isn't a bad thing. He demonstrated his capabilities with just a few sentences. If our interests align, he could be a reliable ally. At the same time, we must manage our distance from the family and never get too close. Working with the company is a check and balance. If one side turns, we'll have an opportunity to pull back. So you suggest accepting Topaz's cooperation for now? Yes, there are risks, but we can only make further judgments after everyone's intentions are clearer. March 7th sighed and shook her head. I understand the reasoning, but there are too many dangerous people here. I'm terrified of being stabbed in the back. You've been bullied several times already. I can't stand watching anymore. Star put her hands on her hips. Let them bully me all they want. You. March 7th started. All right, since we've decided to cooperate with Topaz, let's reply to him as soon as possible. Star contacted him immediately and quickly received 200,000 credit points as a starting fee. Eno peered behind the clocky statue, about to say something, but Alicia stopped her with a hand over her mouth. Some secrets are only surprising when revealed at the right moment. And, Eno, look, Welt has already noticed she's right next to us. With preparations complete, let's move. Whether it's the mimetic entity or Gallagher, we have to try to meet them. Welt glanced past the statue. How about we split up? There are places in the Golden Hour I'm curious about. Ino and Welt exchanged a look that meant she and Alicia would stay behind. Alicia sighed. Ah, I thought I'd finally get to see Himeko and Uncle Welt traveling together. Well, Uncle Welt, be careful. Keep in touch. Star on March 7th fell in beside Himeko, while Welt turned his attention to the clocky statue. Distinguished guest, would you mind stepping out? Acheron stepped out from behind the statue, startled. Her surprise only made Alicia cover her mouth to keep from laughing. My apologies, Welt said, keeping his tone smooth. My name is Welt Yang, member of the Astral Express. I believe you've met my companions. Someone is accusing you of being the true culprit in this string of murders, that you're the Annihilation Gang member who came to the banquet and killed Afrit of the Permanent Fire residence. They say you started another bloody incident in Penacony. Annihilation Gang? Acheron asked. That Archduke, Welt continued, voice pitched with restrained indignation, took his dying body and became raging flames, sacrificing himself along his path. He was a steadfast, heroic pathstrider. Even if he was a villain, such slander is unwarranted. And many suspicious people arrived by invitation that night. Do they really think a long blade is more dangerous than the black hole you carry in your hand? Chapter 162, Unexpected Discovery. Welt turned the mimicked stars of Eden over in his hand and looked at Acheron. You have a keen intuition. Even the family couldn't determine the true nature of this staff. Miss Acheron, you should know it's not wise to peer into a black hole. As a potential threat, your understanding of us has become uncomfortably deep. Reveal your true identity and state your intentions, Welt continued. Otherwise, I'll ask you to prepare to be torn apart by gravity. Ino shook her head. From Black Swan's hint, she had already suspected Acheron belonged to the Annihilation Gang, and now the imaginary energy fluctuations she sensed within the woman confirmed it. Acheron was indeed an Annihilation Gang member, and her power lay well beyond the limits Ino could read. If Welt fought her outright, Ino doubted he stood a chance. But Welt Yang was not the sort to back down simply because an opponent was stronger. He had sacrificed himself again and again, even when victory was improbable. Still, Acheron had shown no hostility toward the Astral Express. Welt's expression softened. That's odd, but if it helps Nameless be less guarded, I'll play along. Whether you believe me or not, Sea Ranger, Acheron, this is my current identity. My visit to Penacony is for a long-standing last wish. In other words, you're an Annihilation Gang member? Ino asked. Maybe even an emissary? Not entirely wrong. Acheron's voice was steady. Many from the Annihilation Gang are trying to escape nihility. I am one of them, so I don't think nihility defines my path, though my power does come from it. You mean you're an emissary of Ix? Ino balked. That's impossible. Ix never looks at anyone. Precisely because it doesn't look, it gives no outward reaction when someone draws power from it. Acheron said, if someone can obtain emissary-level energy from Ix and still keep their mind, can communicate with us normally, then you could call that Ix's acknowledgement. Welt let the subject drop and gestured for Acheron to continue. I don't have proof, Acheron added, but I want to suggest a possibility. The source of these tragedies may be lurking inside the family. If you're willing to trust me, we can work together to gather facts. And if dream death really is the pass for ordinary people into reverie, she added, then I should be able to break Harmony's shackles. I'll tentatively accept that you're not hostile, Welt said cautiously, but until there's concrete evidence, I won't cloud other people's judgments with speculation. He looked at Ino and Alicia. Eily will accompany you. I'll investigate elsewhere. Ino understood. A solo investigation was the most efficient option. If she stayed, it would be a waste of resources. More importantly, she feared staying near Acheron for any length of time. I understand, she said. If there are elusive clues hidden in the corners of the dream, I'll find them. She left Alicia's side with reluctance. Ailey told me she'd been to Dreamflux Reef before, Ino added. That area hasn't been searched yet. At Dreamflux Reef, an old man sitting motionless caught her attention. He was positioned like a statue, with members of the Hound family nearby watching him closely, a clear sign he wasn't ordinary. Ino spread a memory probe like a virus again, using memories as the medium. His memories are chaotic. Something is obstructing the probe, she muttered to herself. Then she froze. Dr. Calderon Chadwick, he was once a member of the Genius Society? The discovery made her want to dig deeper, but Hound family members approached at once. Intruder, one of them warned. This district is not open to dreamers. The Hounds have the right to expel anyone who violates family rules. Eiley told me the last time she came here, the Hounds hadn't treated her like this, Eno thought. What if I just want to talk to this old man? She asked. The Hound's voice chilled. Leave now. Dr. Chadwick will receive no one. Eno watched Moira, who had moved in front of her. Then Moira struck, a sudden slap to the forehead that left Eno unable to move or make a sound. The attack wasn't physical in the usual sense. It interfered with Eno's control inside the dream. She still managed to think. Your name is Moira, and that one over there is the memory body of 79, Calderon Chadwick. Having confirmed Chadwick's identity, Eno shoved Moira aside and walked straight to the old man. His gaze was gentle, as if nothing had happened. Hello, beautiful lady, Chadwick said. Undoubtedly you are very special. I can feel energy flowing out from you. The intensity, it exceeds what any biological heart I know can bear. He can feel it directly, without instruments? Eno's skepticism vanished in curiosity. Are you aware the family has manipulated your memories with harmony? She asked. Chadwick's eyes went blank for a moment, then his body trembled. Yes, the family imposed something on me, an influence that stopped me from ever thinking to save myself. I cannot break free on my own. I need a strong external force's intervention, for example, the Genius Society. Eno considered that. Among the geniuses she knew, none could directly influence memory bodies in dreams like she could. She decided to act. Before that, she said, glancing at Moira, who had struggled to her feet and now glared at Eno with fury, the Hound. Moira lunged again. Eno pointed her finger, and before Moira could register fear, her body erupted. The memory body exploded into a scattering of liquid memories on the reef's ground. I sent her back to the real world, Eno said quietly. Don't worry, her memories were destroyed. She won't remember any of this. 163. Chadwick for Eno, using erosion to wipe someone's memories was straightforward. Performing microsurgery on them was another matter. To examine him properly, she decided to parasitize Calderon Chadwick's body and probe his condition from the inside. It took time, but she found a protective layer around his memories. Something is shielding his memories. Good, it's a shield, not deletion. If it were deleted, I couldn't conjure back memories I don't even know exist. After a while, number 79 Calderon Chadwick opened his eyes, bright with excitement. Thank you, Eno, for letting a man who died many years ago know these things. Eno watched Chadwick's recollections unfold. When he first encountered Zandara, Ai Sangyuan's imaginary tree theory as a boy, the image that formed for him was not a single towering tree but a dense forest. With time and reflection, he developed what he called the tree sea theory. The universe's foundation is not a solitary, selfless tree sacrificing for billions of leaves. Instead, every world is like a seed blown in by the wind, landing somewhere and taking root on its own. Worlds grow independently and, through competition and chance, form a sea of trees. Chadwick knew his tree sea theory was a model convenient for imaginary research. Rumor had it that only the Aeons had truly reached the imaginary tree itself. Eno shared with him the memory moth-chasing flames had of exploring imaginary space aboard the Thousand Realm Ascension, so Chadwick could see the imaginary tree for himself. You've also recorded knowledge about imaginary collapse pulses, Eno said. Yes, Chadwick replied, but it's not my main focus. After I leave Penacony, I'll hand the relevant data to number 83 Herta. She once unraveled the mystery of imaginary overflow. Screwlam and I are on good terms. Good. Do it. Eno's face must have been a question mark because Chadwick tilted his head. Do what? It's been a long time since I had anyone from the Hound family close by. You let Moira return to reality, but her mission is to watch over me. Even if she doesn't remember what just happened here, the moment she realizes I'm out of her sight, she'll send people to check. I know they aren't a match for you, Chadwick said quickly, but it's not worth taking the family on. I'm a man who died years ago. Besides, my knowledge can now be passed on. I have no regrets. Eno didn't answer immediately. She asked instead, what method would stop the company from deploying imaginary pulse bombs on a large scale? Chadwick thought for a moment. Make imaginary pulses ineffective. But before that, you need a deterrent system strong enough to counterbalance the company's power. Something sharp always hanging over the heads of hegemony and evil so they hesitate. At that moment, dozens of family members arrived at Dreamflux Reef, evidently intending to surround Eno. An Aeon of Finality representative stepped forward and spoke politely. "Miss Eno, how may we help you?" "Grant Chadwick his freedom," Eno said. "Abandon any research into imaginary pulses. If the Technology Development Department or the Garden of Recollection comes asking, tell them to come to me directly." "Please allow me to consult the family head," the representative said. "Make it quick. My patience is limited." They left briefly and returned with an answer. "I am very sorry for troubling you. The family head has instructed that Dr. Chadwick may move freely within Penacony." Eno raised an eyebrow. "Huh?" "Of course," the representative continued, "if you can keep Dr. Chadwick alive in reality, he may go wherever he wishes. The family head promises that, in the dream, anyone who harms you or Dr. Chadwick will be considered an enemy of the family." The representative bowed. The others behind him followed. Eno snorted. "You don't need to pull the family into this." Hearing the annoyance in her voice, the Aeon of Finality representative immediately withdrew with his entourage. Before they left, he added, "After learning that you are a genius in solid-state physics, imaginary applied theory, and orbital mechanics, I did have a favor to ask." Chadwick smiled. "There is nothing wrong with saving someone out of selfish motives. Sometimes the selfless acts lauded by others are not worth emulating because the threshold to imitate them is too high. Most people act with some self-interest. If that self-interest makes them realize helping others earns them reputation, they might help more often. Whether it's justice or selfishness that spurs them, it still results in help. You helped me. If you ever need anything, ask." Eno told Chadwick about Penacony's current state and Elio's prophecy. "I haven't dealt much with the Stellaron hunters, but the Slave of Destiny is famous. His prophecies can't be taken at face value, but they can't be ignored either." "Exactly," Chadwick said. "That's why we must prevent problems before they arise. From a technical perspective, what do you make of this dreamscape?" He looked up at the dream sky. "It seems empty, but it's full of memory bubbles. Imaginary energy particles fluctuate inside them randomly. Each bubble is a tiny, dynamic micro-world." Eno looked up too, and Chadwick could hear the eagerness in her voice. "What about extreme scenarios?" "You mean?" "If a fluctuation caused every imaginary energy particle in the Asdana star system to converge at a single point, that would create a black hole large enough to shred the dreamscape. The entire dream could collapse and spill over into the real world. But harmony, as the force maintaining the dreamscape, would never allow such a catastrophe. And if it isn't that total, if the scope is smaller, like around Dreamflux Reef, if someone built an imaginary collapse device, they could achieve a localized effect. The black hole's existence might be extremely brief, over in the blink of an eye, but even that would be dangerous." Eno let out a relieved breath. "Good. What I need is the source of the black hole, the imaginary singularity." Meanwhile, Welt watched the extravagant scene in the dream and sighed. Even after the tragedy, this beautiful dream still runs so smoothly. Apart from the Harmony families, there's hardly any force in the universe that could keep such a vast structure intact. He shook his head. "But its collapse is inevitable. When people let their minds sink into a dream without cost, without pain, only comfort and pleasure, they rot from the inside out. No matter how perfect the bliss feels, death is the only certain outcome. And that rot doesn't stay isolated. The anomaly of one piece will spread until the whole structure trembles, fragments, and finally falls." Acheron fell silent, then reached to rest her hand on the Suba before withdrawing it. "Don't mind that," she said lightly. "It's just a habit. After certain things in the past, I've become prone to forgetting. Only when this blade is drawn do the hazy images start to sharpen. Now, at least, what happened in Penacony is clear to me." "If Eno had been with us, she would probably have been startled by what you just did," Welt said, a small note of amusement in his voice. "That genius," Acheron murmured. "Whether it was our first meeting or the second, she seemed particularly afraid of me. Maybe she's unusually sensitive to the power of nihility." "That's not it," Welt corrected. Your appearance resembles someone familiar to us, someone who left a deep impression on Eno. Acheron considered that. The universe contains countless similar but different worlds, and in each one there are familiar faces that recur. I once traveled among those worlds and met people who looked alike and followed similar fates. It's not surprising someone might resemble me, but what happened between her and Eno, I imagine it was not pleasant. A rough summary would be a matter of life and death, Welt said. You seem very calm about it, Acheron observed. Because the past is past, he replied. Even if the ending wasn't perfect, the curtain has fallen. It's more useful to enjoy the present and prepare for tomorrow. So you believe the past doesn't matter? I didn't say that. He looked at her steadily. Our experiences prove our existence. Memory and the years we've lived point us toward home when we are most lost. The past is like the beautiful dream before us. When tired and overwhelmed, people need it to rest, to find comforts scarce in reality, to gather strength to continue. But if one becomes addicted, refuses to leave that dream in the past, it becomes necrosis, just as you said. Enough talk of theory, Acheron went on. Let's return to Penacony. In the golden hour, there are factories of imagination. Behind the revelry of the dream, people spend their days producing all kinds of imagined goods, then return to reality to sleep on beds that are a far cry from the lavish hotel rooms. They tell themselves that's enough, that the bizarre dream is the greatest reward. I met a young woman there, newly come of age when one should be indulging in beautiful dreams. Her deepest wish was to move to Aurum Alley and wear clothes she had woven with her own hands. For some reason, that wish was so difficult to fulfill. I managed to bring her a single garment. Aurum Alley is a fortress-like financial city, the economic heart of that dream. The PP West people from the Clover family keep it running, sending the blood of banknotes through all of Penacony. Everyone there is elegantly dressed and always in a hurry. Landing a job in Aurum Alley is the greatest hope a PP West parent has for their children. I met no one willing to talk. I stood at a crossroads, watching crowds rush through the steel maze like wind, only to lock the Clover coins they earned in vaults. I don't know if they will ever open those vault doors again. Before I left, I saw a well-dressed PP West fall from the sky, and the people around him simply walked through him as if he were nothing. These were my superficial observations, Acheron concluded. What you called the reasonable use of the beautiful dream is how Penacony should be, but not everyone has that self-control. I walked through the reality and dreams of the festive star, watched nights come and go, time halt for people, and saw spirit and poverty existing forever at their fixed scales. So I believe the collapse of that beautiful dream is inevitable. Welt, who had been quiet until then, finally spoke. Perhaps there is a way to change all of this. Acheron tilted her head. Perhaps, but if this is the world people truly desire, if countless people freely choose endless beautiful dreams, then should we force a change upon them? Welt looked toward her. Let me tell you a story, he said. In my hometown, there was a man who, faced with an incurable wound in the world, made a decision. He wove together everyone's dreams, linked their sleep to one another, and bore the burden himself. In doing so, he became a giant, a spiritual atom. That giant stood between heaven and earth and became the pillar holding the world together. As a price, those who could not move forward, who could not advance, lost their futures. They slept without suffering in the utopia he had created, and because these people wished never to wake, the spiritual atom became effectively indestructible. Welt's eyes were calm. But you standing here means that man failed. He shook his head. No, because people must move toward the future. Even if weakness makes them stop, when they truly cannot go on, humanity will strive to save itself. That man was not a failure. Like everyone in his world, he preserved the possibilities of human nature. He was the sun chaser of myth, flying toward the sky claiming victory even if it ended in a fall. He soared where no one had gone, reached the sun, and melted as he fell into the sea. Afterwards, countless others passed over his body and flew higher. Alicia fell silent for a long moment, then the familiar smile spread across her face. So, this is Kevin's final fate? She asked softly. That's right, Welt said. You started that story here. I'm glad to meet you so you could know how it ends. Alicia gazed ahead, then smiled in that same steady way she always did. Kevin, he's still Kevin, after all. 165. Zhang Mengju. Before Eno and Chadwick could begin, the Aeon of Finality's representative who had spoken earlier returned to Dreamflux Reef. Miss Eno, Dr. Chadwick, he said, the Dream Master asked me to deliver this. Since you are not in a hurry to leave Penacony, why not come to Lingmeng Lake for a discussion? The Dream Master has found clues related to the propagation. Lingmeng Lake, Eno echoed. Yes. Like Reviri, Lingmeng Lake is outside the 12 dreamscapes and is not usually open to guests. But you two are geniuses. We can make an exception. Lingmeng Lake is normally uninhabited, so if you need to run experiments, it won't disturb other dreamers. Eno looked out into the distance. If the Dream Master is that thoughtful, I'll go, but I'll need some time to prepare. Of course. Take your time. I will wait by the first statue ahead. We'll leave whenever you're ready. The representative vanished. Chadwick's brow tightened. Something's wrong. The imaginary energy from him is very different from before. I think he's a puppet of the Dream Master now. Eno's expression didn't soften. That doesn't mean it's all a trap. At least the last line sounded sincere. This might be a chance to face the truth, though I don't know about you. Chadwick smiled, a little rueful. I'm already a dead man. What is there left to fear? If something goes wrong, it will only be me paying the price I deserve. Sometime later, they followed the Aeon of Finality's envoy to the far end of Dreamflux Reef. The envoy intoned softly, "Oh, soul of three aspects, grant me eyes to see the path ahead." A single, mournful chord echoed, and a portal opened before them. Please. Eno and Chadwick exchanged a glance and stepped through. They arrived in a place where visibility had suddenly dropped. Unlike Dreamflux Reef's perpetual daylight, this place was trapped in night, like Reverie, but there were no streetlights, only the cold light of the moon. Thick fog clung to everything. You didn't need to probe to sense what lay around. A casual wave of the hand made a film of memories cling to the skin. Not far off, Eno saw a lake whose surface rippled with liquid memories. Chadwick stared at that boundless lake and spoke quietly. A person in a dream doesn't need to breathe. A lake of memories doesn't mist because of temperature shifts. That fog is deliberate, the Dream Master's doing. A distant voice laughed through the mist as footsteps approached. Shapes came out of the fog, members of the Peepee West, Aeons of Finality, and even a flock of ravens. "Ha-ha! Dr. Chadwick, you are indeed a genius. You saw it at once." Chadwick looked straight at them. "If you invited us, why hide?" The answer came simultaneously from all of them, the same voice issuing from many mouths. "Whether you believe it or not, this is the real me. Every one of us is. My mortal body has long since dissolved. The 107,336 children of the Oak family are now my eyes, ears, and voice. When needed, I will spread harmony through this dream, and when necessary, I will purge corruption from my paradise." "Purge?" Eno said. "Is that your aim?" "That's one way to put it. Two geniuses working together could overturn this entire dream." Eno's gaze went cold. "If you know how much two geniuses can do together, why do you think this place can trap us?" "You must remember," the Dream Master replied, "the chord of harmony echoes across the universe. Refuse us, and you will never leave Shaipe, the Aeon of Harmonies." Before he finished, memories around Chadwick condensed and snapped into a protective shell around him. Black energy surged from Eno's body. The Dream Master's control over almost all the Oak family members in the clearing faltered, and he sounded surprised. "If my mortal body is gone, then perhaps eradicating the Oak family would erase me permanently." 107,336. Is that a lot on a cosmic scale? Rupert investing in an anti-organic equation, Dr. Primitives atavism experiments. If those populations are even slightly dense, the number affected quickly exceeds that. This is a dream. Death here just returns everyone to reality. I would have even fewer scruples. Eno searched the family members' memories for anything about the Dream Master, but the memories were blank. The ravens overhead repeated the same mocking laughter. "Ha ha ha! Even geniuses have their blind spots." Eno snapped her fingers. The host of bodies dissolved instantly into explosions of liquid memory. The lake's level rose slightly as more memories poured into it. "So," she said coolly, "apart from threatening to invoke sheep, what else do you have?" When Fantelia tried to refine me into a Void Ranger, she at least demonstrated emissary-level power. Could it be you can't even let Sipe, the Aeon of Harmony, possess you? Silence was the reply. Eno moved through that silence, taking in everything. I thought so. I know the kinds of threats a family can pose in a dream. If the family truly saw me as a hidden danger, the obvious move would be to strike first, bring emissary-level power to kill me while I'm unprepared. But you didn't. Not because you didn't want to, but because you couldn't. Banishment is the only lever you could conceive to control me. As the highest-ranking Dream Master of Penacony, yet unable to summon Shaipi's avatar, there is only one logical explanation. You, the Dream Master, led the betrayal of Harmony. You cannot or will not permit Shaipi's avatar to descend. The imaginary energy on those puppets matched Harmony too closely, and your behavior fits the pattern. You are now a follower of order, aren't you? Chapter 166, Ideals and Reality. Before the Dream Master could answer, Chadwick cut in with a questioning look. Actually, it's still elimination. Beneath the Harmony, there's a path energy I've never sensed before. The only groups that fit are the Enigmata and Order. In fairness, both the Enigmata and Aha can cloak themselves, but as far as I know, the Enigmata members in Penacony haven't colluded with this family. As for Aha, if you told me the Dream Master standing here was actually a masked fool in disguise, I'd be more willing to believe that Aha possessed him for sport. And the Dream Master's attitude just now, that worship of the strong suppressing the weak, fits exactly the Order's doctrine. Coupled with the fact that Order was officially absorbed into Harmony, the answer's obvious. To say a trip to Lingmeng Lake gave rise to such a major discovery, so it wasn't wasted after all. Although I don't know what grand plan Order's followers are cooking up in Penacony, this Dream Master will probably start preaching, explain how wonderful life will be under Order's norms. Because that is the truth. An ideal paradise can only be established through Order. Eno shrugged at Chadwick, confirming his conclusion. Let me tell you a story, you two. Once a strange plague swept the Asdana star system. It only affected certain species, so it was a minor episode compared to things like the War of Independence. In Penacony's history, it barely earns a footnote. But when I was head of the Oak family, I saw it up close. The cure was cheap to produce, but a pipey West industrialist who controlled the production rights refused to mass produce it. When I asked why, he answered, "Scarcity makes things valuable. This medicine will certainly sell. Its value goes up if supply is limited. The closer someone is to death, the more they'll pay to stay alive. Right now, the symptoms are mild. If we wait until they're near death, the profit multiplies. Even if some weaker people die, it's still profitable. So, why mass produce it? The reason things like that happen is often blamed on disorder. If medicine prices could be regulated strictly, if production were mandatory, Eno yawned. The link to disorder isn't non-existent, but it isn't decisive. As he said himself, the closer a person is to death, the more they'll pay. Put a gun to his head, and the price comes down. Do you see? Your argument, in essence, upholds the order you keep in your heart. That's right. So? What I uphold is the order I recognize, not the order you want me to follow. Don't be hasty. I haven't even said what I intend to do. How do you know it's an order you wouldn't accept? If you hadn't told that dubious little story, you might have finished already. Kate, what we intend to do is make everyone happy. Human consciousness is an illusion, prisons named self-worth. People are misled by that illusion into error, and the consequences fall on external forces. When countless mistakes accumulate until they're untraceable, these prisons form a single penitentiary, a natural law called survival of the fittest. And nature always means plunder and sacrifice. Its opposite is order. Under one order, the happiness of all can be guaranteed. People will no longer have to make bitter choices, no longer confront the weaknesses of humanity. Abandon the habits of beasts, and then a human paradise can be built. Maybe that's too abstract. Sunday once gave a fine example. In some worlds, people get 2 or 3 days off. On those rare days, they escape pressure and find inner peace. For a short time, they don't face the law of the jungle and can be happy. But 2 or 3 days are a tiny fraction of a lifetime, so he believes the ideal is 7 days off. In Sunday's tomorrow, it's always Sunday. The second, the third, forever another Sunday. That's the face of the new world, eternal idleness and peace. I agree. Then everyone can return to paradise without unnecessary burdens. And the cost? Insignificant compared to the happiness of all beings. He will accept a permanent martyrdom. He alone will remain awake in loneliness until the end of the universe. It's his decision. I will not and cannot force him. And I will become the kindling, giving everything to establish the Taiyi dream. So, Stigmata Project. You're saying violence won't work, so you resort to rhetoric and reason, hoping your argument will sway us? I still harbor that slim hope, Miss Eno. The young woman who resembles you can now survive only in dreams, can't she? If, he never finished. The Dream Master felt a cold clamp on the remaining conduits of his will as Eno released a black mist. Your plan is bound to fail. No matter the flaws in the utopia you and Sunday imagine, the paradise you describe is an unreachable pipe dream. When you meet me, exile is your only option. But what about other beings who can't be destroyed by force? Lords of destruction, emissaries of other paths. If they, for whatever reason, shatter others' happiness in the dream, how can you guarantee this utopia will last forever? As for Eileen, by your performance, you don't even have the right to mention her. Eno clenched her right hand. Inside Lingmeng Lake, the Dream Master's remaining vessels were seized by the erosion of the virus and vanished without a trace. After Eno finished a careful sweep of Lingmeng Lake and confirmed the Dream Master wasn't laying any traps, she lowered Chadwick's protective field. The family talks about humility, but it's actually proud, maybe arrogant. This hidden dreamscape has basically become your domain. If you ignore me, you could leave whenever you like. It's wise to keep communication open, but I don't have much reason to leave. This is a good place for experiments. Then, the others on the Astral Express, especially, Alicia has far more combat experience than I do. I trust her, and I trust our other companions. He hesitated, then added, besides. Before Eno could finish, the dreamscape trembled. They also have an emissary of Nihility with them. Sometime earlier, Alicia and the others had reached the entrance to Dewlight Pavilion. Eno sent word. She found of 79 Chadwick's memory in Dreamflux Reef. The two have allied and are running experiments in an uninhabited pocket of the dream, probing the Dream Master's true nature. They won't be rejoining us for a while. I expected Eno would find clues nobody else could. We'll have to work harder. Welt smiled faintly. He gazed at the pavilion's main gate, brow creased. Something's off. A mansion this grand, and not even a butler to greet visitors. Is this a deserted wing left empty by some sudden event? The door is open. Proceed with caution. They hadn't gone far when Alicia's attention snagged on a heap of odds and ends. She rifled through the clutter and drew out a stack of manuscripts. Ode to a Myriad Strings, variation forward. Alicia read the foreword aloud. I've always wondered, must those who walk the path of harmony treat Shaipe as a god? The family classifies members into 7 scales by ability. Only those above the Ivith scale are eligible to bear the will of the Harmony emissary. In the wider universe, many follow more than one path. If some who follow Harmony worship Klipoth and hold the grand concert, could that summon an avatar of preservation? If some who follow Harmony worship Aha and hold the grand concert, could they perceive the will of elation? I believe the true path of Harmony may be to embrace other paths, to channel powers beyond Harmony using Harmony's methods. Moreover, if only a Virth scale and above can perceive his will, does that mean Harmony excludes the vast majority of lower scale members? Must those with insufficient cultivation resign themselves to less, only perceiving his will through his emissary? 102nd experiment. Success. A Vith scale member, after rewriting the Ode to a Myriad Strings, perceived the will of other gods. The experiment. I know the family will forbid me to continue, but from current results I make a bold inference. The closer the bond between a vessel and a god, the more potent the god's power after descent. When the god is not a specific aeon, the amplification grows even greater. Robin Family Dream Researcher. A marginal note added. Family annotation. For several Amber eras, Saipe, the aeon of Harmony's string music, has been a single, unvaried composition. This document is likely the work of an imaginary historian or masked fool. Family members are warned not to believe it or attempt the procedures it suggests. Ode to a Myriad Strings. Why does it stop here? Where's the variation itself? Alicia frowned. Welt, having found no other leads, moved closer and skimmed the page. Maybe the family destroyed the specific instructions because they feared lower-scale members would actually try to summon Shaipe. As far as I know, since the family's founding, there has never been a record of anyone below the Ivorth scale summoning a Harmony emissary. Even if a lower-scale member tried, they'd get no response. You're right. Concrete instructions would make it irresistible. Do not attempt often has the opposite effect. Did you find anything else? Alicia asked. Welt pointed at the floor. These footprints are different from the others. 2 sets. It looks like outsiders passed through recently. I noticed them too. Mr. Welt, can you identify the maker? He studied the patterns. This tread is flamboyant and distinctive. By the size, it looks masculine. My guess, Mr. Topaz, the emissary from the Interstellar Peace Corporation. The 2 trails ran almost parallel rather than one behind the other, suggesting the companion was not a subordinate. The corporation wants Penacony back. Their presence here makes sense. In the family, that corporation emissary is tightly constrained and doesn't have Eno's capabilities. He's probably still investigating anomalies in the dream after Miss Robin's death. He couldn't possibly know the location of Reverie yet. And there may be internal problems inside the family now. Should we inform Mr. Topaz directly to strengthen cooperation between the Astral Express and the corporation? Acheron stayed silent, her meaning clear. She wasn't part of the Astral Express's deliberations. I think we should finish exploring, compare what we find with Himeko's report, and then decide together. Agreed. Let's keep moving. They reached the council chamber entrance. No one answered, but a mimetic entity, Shell of Frenzy's fading, a blue lightning overlord dragon, stood guard, flanked by other mimetic sentinels on patrol. The moment Alicia raised her bow, she loosed an arrow that froze the Shell of Frenzy's fading before its tail could strike the floor. Welt slammed his simulated Stars of Eden down, pulling the surrounding mimetic entities inward, and Acheron spent skill points to extinguish them all. Alicia called on erosion and shattered the shell. Its body cracked apart, countless fragments scattering before dissolving. When all the mimetic entities were gone, a note materialized on the ground. It seems Dewlight Pavilion's staff were reassigned elsewhere, and this happened even before Robin's death. Perhaps it's a project needing a large workforce, something like the Grand Concert. But logically, Welt said, frowning, no matter how important the task, you'd expect someone to remain on duty in the family's restricted areas. Someone sent them away, Alicia replied, or they were pulled into a task considered more important than guarding Dewlight Pavilion. The family's meeting hall was empty. The 3 of them found nothing of real value on the shelves except a letter Robin had written to Sunday. It confirmed what they'd suspected. There was a dissonance inside Penacony's harmony. Dewlight Pavilion is only guarded by memes, Welt said. It's unlikely anything more important would be stored here. Let's regroup with Himeko and the others first. They left through the main entrance and met Himeko's group at the gateway to Clocky Plaza. This must be Miss Huangquan. Hello, I'm Himeko, navigator of the Astral Express, Himeko said, offering a hand. March 7th waved. Hi, I'm March 7th. I won't introduce Star, you're bound to know him. Star pouted. Hello, I'm Clocky. March 7th breathed a soft sigh of relief and smiled. If Star had made some new weird self-introduction, she would have felt oddly unsettled. After the introductions, Welt cut to the chase. How's your investigation going? We found Gallagher, Himeko replied. But as Eno warned, he follows the Enigmata. We can't take everything he says at face value. Every time we mentioned Reverie, he changed the subject, March 7th added. I think he was afraid of eavesdroppers. Some things may only be explained outside the family's control. I saw Eno's message, Welt said. With the Dream Master, the highest administrator of Penacony, looking suspicious, we have to be careful. We also saw Mr. Topaz. The company looks determined to take Penacony. What about you? Our findings back up Eno's message to a degree, Welt said. There are traitors to harmony within the family. I can also confirm Miss Huangquan is not dangerous, Himeko went on. She's not a Sea Ranger, and she doesn't hold any animosity toward the Astral Express. We suspect Topaz's accusations against her might have been a way to probe the truth behind Penacony, March 7th said. But to know his intentions, we'll have to confront him in person. But where would we find him? Star asked. Topaz's voice answered them from the plaza's broadcast before they could finish the question. See, you want to confront me in person, and I have the same request. If the actors and the audience don't show, won't all of my arrangements be wasted? To unravel the mysteries of the watchmaker and Penacony, we'll need the information the company holds. Even if danger lies ahead, facing difficulty is what the trailblaze is, right? Huang Quan lifted the katana at her hip. Thank you, Astral Express, for trusting me. In the coming confrontation, if the Express faces trouble, I will stand by your side and do everything I can. They entered Clocky Plaza. Topaz had been waiting on the center stage. You're late, members of the Astral Express, and this uninvited guest, he said, gesturing to Huang Quan. Mr. Topaz, the Express doesn't seek to be the company's enemy, Welt said. If you want the truth about the dream, hear me now. There is no true death in Penacony's dream. Topaz smiled as if they amused him. It seems, he said, no matter what truth we try to convey or how we present it, you won't accept it. You're right, Welt replied. Too many people in Penacony speak around the truth and hide their motives. If you were to state the truth plainly, without inference, I might even be skeptical. Which is why the authenticity of what you claim can only be confirmed by me in my own way. He turned toward the crowd. Next, a round of applause for tonight's protagonist, Miss Star Core. Star blinked. Huh? Me? Yes, since you insist there is no true death in Penacony, I will now detonate the Star Core inside you and create a small accident. The entire plaza will become a shattered dream. When countless celebrities and family members in Penacony are annihilated in an unprecedented blast, whether they can still live will be the greatest proof. Huang Quan's hand rested on her sword's Suba. Bluster won't sway us. If you could actually do that, you've had plenty of earlier chances. Topaz laughed. Of course I can. It's a gamble. I came from the deserts of Sigonia, 60 copper coins, branded, shackled, hanged, buried in sand. But the sun couldn't kill me. Quicksand handed me over to the scholars and the company. Remember, I've never lost. Friends, the game begins. You cannot refuse. You have no reason and no room. Star charged, flame lance in hand, but she failed to break through Topaz's defense and was thrown back. The architect's second-rate stone is worthless, Topaz said contemptuously. Alicia raised her bow, but Huang Quan shook her head. If you act, he might not get what he's after. Alicia glanced around, then lowered her bow. Oh, close call. I almost messed things up with good intentions, she said, embarrassed. The broken aventurine in Topaz's palm glowed, then spewed countless shards into the air. Welt and Himeko moved to shield March 7th and Star, weapons raised. Centered on Huang Quan, the colors of Clocky Plaza drained away like paint washed from a canvas. Everyone's vision went to black and white. The suspended chips hung frozen midair. May I weep for the departed, tears falling like rain, filling the crossing river. Huang Quan murmured. She slowly drew her katana, and memories flooded her. She didn't make an extravagant move. She merely swung the blade casually toward Topaz. The strike pierced his domain. The giant screen in Clocky Plaza split in two, the shock rippling through the dream, and by the same motion, Topaz achieved what he wanted. The blow proved his point. The power of the Enigmata could indeed loosen the restraints of harmony. Huang Quan struck again with a second, precise cut. When she returned her sword to its scabbard, color bled back into the plaza, and a fine drizzle began to fall. Around her, everyone else remained where they'd been, but for a moment, before she finished sheathing her sword, Huang Quan had seen something else. A strange white light threading through the faded realm, passing by like a ghost. 169. Zhang Tongluren time returned to the present at Lingmeng Lake. A casual slash from Acheron, by the time it reached this place, left no mark, but Chadwick still felt something heavy settle over him. First, I became a virus for the genius, and then an emissary of imaginary, a thing that shouldn't even exist. My knowledge is too limited. The universe is enormous. There must be a way to build a deterrent system that can balance the company's power. Ino lifted her right hand. Thousands of memories surfaced and floated across the lake like ripples. To build a deterrent system capable of countering the company will take a long plan, she said. But if the goal is only to stop the company from mass producing and deploying imaginary pulse bombs, that's simpler. The company needs me to handle the matters Rupert left behind. As for your request, I can find an opportunity to explain it directly to Aboli. Even if Aboli listens, it won't force every subordinate to obey, she added. But if the prohibition is official, it can at least delay any mass deployment of pulse bombs. As several memories merged, they reshaped into a cylindrical component that hovered above the lake. Chadwick looked at it and frowned. I want to know why you're doing this. Eno, you don't strike me as some noble ally. Of course not, she replied. My conscience and my bottom line aren't even fully mine. If you measure against the Sea Ranger's standard of justice, I fall far short. I'm acting out of empathy. After seeing your memories, I felt we were similar. We both, at one point, caused irreparable tragedies through ignorance. We don't want that to happen again. The cylinder of memories wavered. Chadwick shook his head. This is wrong. Wrong how? Multiple parameters are wrong. If a component reconstructed one-to-one from my memories will only function properly in the experimental area the company set up. That space has a high concentration of memories, and anything produced there will be scrapped before the experiment completes. Then I should build an error-measuring device first, Eno said. That would be best. Once that's done, you can report your safety to the other Nameless and update them on what's happening here. Even while examining data related to Penacony, Eno had been curious about how Dreamweavers turned memories into physical constructs. After arriving at Penacony, she found the answer: by imagining them. Ordinary methods seemed inefficient, so she modified the Dreamweaver's process, turning memories into something like a machine executing a program, automatically producing outputs that met given conditions from the inputs. That way, even if she wasn't at Lingmeng Lake, memories eroded by the virus would keep working until transformation finished. Soon, a rectangular device with multiple dials materialized before Chadwick. Good enough, Eno said. Since I'm part of the experiment, I want to know exactly what you intend to use Harmony for. Chadwick, the imaginary overflow is a major discovery, she explained. According to Herta's work, imaginary energy behaves like water spilling from a cup, constantly spreading outward. What if you put that cup inside a sealed, finite space? The imaginary concentration inside would rise. Exactly. And if inside that sealed space there existed a natural entity that could absorb or even process imaginary energy? Chadwick thought for a moment and then understood her aim. That's an audacious experiment, but it depends on too many uncontrollable prerequisites. Unless the entire Asdana star system is sealed, and unless large-scale combat occurs among Pathstriders there, your experiment's chance of success is effectively zero. That might be better, Eno said quietly. Wouldn't that mean Ailey and my other companions would all be safe? Eno inspected Lingmeng Lake again. The entrance here was more unusual than Reverie, Dreamscape. It could be deadbolted from the inside. If those inside locked it, not only would family members be unable to enter, but even memo keepers would need tricks to discover this hidden dreamscape. Acheron's strike drew everyone's attention, and Penacony is full of mysteries. Black Swan and the other memo keepers won't have time to start from scratch and methodically investigate Dreamflux Reef, so this place is actually quite safe. Those who know Chadwick already know he's under my protection, she added. Even if the family suspects he's at Lingmeng Lake, they won't act rashly. After clarifying the situation, Eno returned to Dreamflux Reef, only to find she still couldn't contact the express crew. They must be in a hidden dreamscape as well, probably Reverie, she muttered. Chadwick needs time to calibrate the errors. I'll use this chance to return to reality and check a few conjectures. As she was about to leave the dream, she noticed someone moving stealthily. He wore family garb, clutched several drafts, and peered around with an excited, furtive expression. Eno decided to take the shortcut. She knocked him out and read his mind. Distral. Ailey must have met him when she came to Dreamflux Reef. Ailey had called him steady and mature, Eno recalled, but Distral's memories told a different story. He was a refugee from the Coldor star system, cursed with bad luck. Every job he'd held ended in an accident. He lost workplaces more often than paychecks. He joked to himself that he was a congenital destruction saint body. For survival, he joined the family and been assigned to Penacony. After assessment, he became a member of the Oak family, mainly supervising Dreamflux Reef and handling trivial, constant tasks. The work was grueling and he hated it, but where could he go if he left? If the family wouldn't let him leave Penacony, escape meant returning to a wandering life in the universe where food, shelter, and safety were uncertain. Was that any better? So he kept working, hoping someday he might secure basic needs, the simplest freedom, and most of all, not become disposable material the family could discard at any time. From Distrol's memories, Eno also learned other details. Dewlight Pavilion was empty. The drafts he clutched included a piece titled Symphony of Myriad Strings, Variations. He believed, falsely, that members of the Feist scale could invite Saipe, the Aeon of the Harmony, to possess them. Distrol's excitement had nothing to do with grand plans. It was the clinging hope of someone who'd been pushed into a corner and was still searching for a way out. Chapter 170, Dream Within a Dream. Even though Distrol had been a top performer on the VI tone scale, he knew he had already squeezed out every last drop of potential. On the surface, he looked close to the V-tone scale, but in truth, there was an unbridgeable chasm between them. He understood in his bones that without extraordinary opportunity, he would spend his life on the construction sites of Dreamflux Reef, and one day might simply collapse under mental strain and be quietly dealt with by the family. If his job disappeared, there would be no shortage of replacements. To the family, even a top VI tone scale worker was still essentially just a slightly better consumable. So whether to avoid elimination or to preserve his own sanity, he had to do something. Just as he was thinking that, Ruifanji, who had worked in Penacony longer, found him and asked for his help. Ruifanji promised that if Distrol completed the task, he would be freed from the family's control. How could a V-tone scale member enable a VI tone scale to break free of family control? Distrol was skeptical, but even if the promise was empty, it could at least become a reason to keep living. He remembered another, stranger thing. He had once encountered an Omen Vanguard and been told his fate to become a container. As a pathstrider of the finality, why couldn't the Omen Vanguard speak plainly like Firefly had? The message had been fragmented. With so little to go on, no one could make sense of it. Tai Dream. Well, it was unfair to expect someone of that rank to know the Dream Master's whole plan. From what the Dream Master had shown before, he seemed capable of controlling any member of the Oak family. To be safe, it would be better to remove the camera. Eno applied a small amount of force and Distrol's body dissolved instantly. She bent and picked up the manuscript that had fallen to the ground. "This looks like a 5-line, no, 6-line staff," she muttered. "The symbols on it are just as incomprehensible to me as Mara struck talismans." Seeing she couldn't extract anything more from the score, Eno left Dreamflux Reef and returned to the Daydream Hotel in the so-called real world. Immediately, she sensed something odd. Even without entering the abundance-affected body, she could maintain a human form here. The concentration of memories in this real world didn't match what she'd expected. Then it clicked. So that's it. Penacony has been a dream since I arrived. No wonder a memories life like Misha would show up at the Daydream Hotel in what's supposedly reality. When we first arrived, the second layer of the dream hadn't been fully woven yet. No, to be precise, the progress still hadn't reached completion. Otherwise, as the Dream Master had warned, almost everyone would already be immersed in dreams where their wishes came true. If the so-called reality is itself a layer of dream, then the Astral Express. On the Astral Express, the onboard announcement cut in with the usual cheer. Breaking news. Penacony's The Grand Concert has entered its countdown. Accompanied by clockies ticking, this grand celebration will officially begin in 12 system hours. In the observation car, however, the mood was far from festive. Dan Heng's expression was tight, and Pom Pom was trembling because the cowboy-dressed man across from them was pointing a gun at Dan Heng. "I told you, we can talk this out," Dan Heng said. The man in the cowboy outfit didn't lower the weapon. "I'm sorry, little furry friend. I have urgent business, and I must ask this small favor." Dan Heng tensed, ready to switch to his main account at any moment. "If you know what you're doing, you should be aware of the risks." The cowboy smiled. "Brother, why so tense? I only pulled this out to say hello. Name's Ratio. I'm a Sea Ranger. A Sea Ranger? Dan Heng blinked in surprise. Ratio laughed loudly. Surprised to see one of us? You look as if you've seen a ghost. People say we're all dead. That's the rumor. Being out of sight for so long has its drawbacks, I guess. There are plenty of ugly rumors in the Star Dome about the Sea Ranger's current state, Dan Heng said. I find it hard to believe you. Ratio laughed even harder. Ha! Those idiots make up anything. They even say Dr. Primitive turned every Sea Ranger into gibbons, swinging in some mountain valley. Before he could finish, a fourth voice came from behind him. Pom Pom and Dan Heng both looked as if they had seen a savior. Ratio watched the newcomer stroll past, then swung the gun. Ho, who dares threaten a Sea Ranger? I really have to. He stopped mid-sentence, baffled. Why can't I control my body? After the newcomer walked by, Ratio's limbs seemed to act without his will. His feet came together and his hands shot up in a perfect surrender pose. Someone had taken hold of him from the inside. Eno's eyes narrowed. His name is indeed Ratio, and he did receive an invitation to Penacony, but before he arrived, the Sea Ranger position was already taken over by Acheron. At the name Acheron, Ratio's face had flashed with anger earlier. Now he was frozen. You know Acheron's situation better than we do, he had said before losing control. I admit, every Sea Ranger is fearless of sacrifice and will fight to the death for our goals. But whether it's the Lord of Destruction Juro or the erudition emissary Dr. Primitive, even a Sea Ranger needs outside help and teamwork. So you think you can match an emissary alone? Someone had mocked. Ha ha ha, you don't understand us. If we backed down just because the target was stronger, we wouldn't be Sea Rangers. Eno flicked her fingers and Ratio's control returned. He physically relaxed as if waking from a dream. The Lord of Viruses is truly formidable. My body is largely mechanical. It is vulnerable to his influence. She looked at the newcomer, now passing through the car, and added, Now I believe you are Nameless. If you were fake, you wouldn't be able to fool her eyes. With the misunderstanding settled, Pom Pom let out a shaky breath. By the way, Passenger Eno, is there something important about your return to the train? Yes, Eno said flatly. Penacony is in a state of dream within a dream. I can now confirm that the reality of Penacony is actually another layer of dream. 171. The Emperor's bow dazzled 7 imperial edicts with its light arrows. What? Eno gave a brief account of what had happened in Penacony, especially how she and Chadwick had been exiled by the Dream Master. You're saying Penacony's supreme leader and the head of the Oak family are both remnants of order? That's right. Are they trying to resurrect the Eidolon of order, Tai? Eno shook her head. Maybe not. Ruan Mei tried to cultivate a mimetic emissary of the propagation, but it lasted only 56 seconds. Resurrecting a dead Eidolon, I don't think they can do that. If they could, Herta and Ruan Mei would have to come out into the open. I'm afraid their aim is simpler and darker, to use Order's power to keep everyone trapped in dreams forever. Ratio drew his gun again. So if we take out that Dream Master and Sunday, Penacony's problems are solved, right? Eno shook her head once more. The Dream Master has no physical form. It can inhabit any member of the Oak family. To be sure of its elimination, you'd first have to deal with over 100,000 Oak family members. Otherwise, assassination or mind-reading has no fixed target. Ratio holstered his gun with a curse. Damn it, this Dream Master is like one of Dr. Primitive's little pet snouters, full of tricks. Pom Pom scratched its head with its ear. Pet? Snouter? Dan Heng pressed his forehead with one hand. It's an imperial edict, not a wheelchair. In the ancient Xianzhou tongue, it's a term for the emperor's decree. You're quite knowledgeable, Pom Pom said. Anyway, you see my point. Just because the Sea Rangers have been out of sight for so long doesn't mean we haven't been watching. Many fools would sooner pick a fight with the Annihilation Gang than with a Ranger. Eno, Dan Heng said, steering them back to the matter at hand. You said Acheron, who is posing as a Sea Ranger, is an emissary? That's right. Specifically, an emissary of the Nihility. That's impossible. Ix never takes notice of people. It's logical. Why would it grant power to mortals? Ratio, who had been pointing his gun at Dan Heng moments ago, came over and clapped him on the shoulder like an old friend. Don't worry. My reaction was exactly the same when I first heard. Emissaries have more ways to hide their identities than other Pathstriders. For many, anonymity is preferable. Revealing yourself can mean stepping onto the galactic killing stage or betraying your path. I was lucky enough to meet an emissary of the Elation. On the surface, it was indistinguishable from a bum. If I hadn't gotten it drunk, I would never have guessed its true nature. Even pure paths like the Hunt have the Xianzhou Alliance in the light and Sea Rangers in the shadows. A path is ultimately a human construct. There's an outside world we don't understand. Believing the nihility has no emissaries might be because we simply aren't nihilistic enough. Do you understand? Setting aside the mess the remnants of order have made in the family, your companions are in grave danger. If you don't believe me, send them a message, but act fast. Ino's right to be worried, but I still have questions about Acheron, Dan Heng said. Those who follow the Hunt are among the most untouchable in the galaxy. Any sane being, even an emissary, wouldn't impersonate the Xianzhou Alliance or a Sea Ranger. That's a death sentence. A saying among the Xianzhou goes, the Emperor's bow needs only one shaft of light to proclaim an edict. Pom Pom piped up. A better translation, the Emperor's decree needs only a single arrow of light, Dan Heng corrected. You get my meaning, Pom Pom continued. Don't think that because the Sea Rangers have kept to the shadows for years, we haven't been paying attention. Many would sooner offend the Annihilation Gang than a Ranger. But that Acheron, from what she's done, she doesn't seem unhinged. She's intelligent, methodical, she holds back when necessary, and acts decisively when needed. You think someone like that, using the Sea Ranger name, must have ulterior motives. I'm not saying for certain. It's odd, though. Maybe she really has ties to the Sea Rangers, or maybe she's trying to flush me out. I have an informant, a memo keeper, who might turn up useful information. You don't have to guess, Dan Heng said. You can ask her directly. Heh, easy to say. The Dream Realm is stranger now than before. Where would you expect us to go? At that moment, 2 more people boarded the train, Acheron and the mysterious woman who had been with her. Greetings, everyone. I am Acheron. Miss Ino is here too. That's wonderful, Acheron said. Ratio flared with anger, not at Acheron but at someone else. Damn it, Black Swan, you from the Garden of Recollection, you sold me out. My apologies, that was at my request, Black Swan replied. For certain reasons, I was exiled from Penacony. Fortunately, this memo keeper accompanied me the whole way, which allowed me to slip past the family's control. Not accompaniment, tracking, the memo keeper corrected. And it wasn't quiet, but never mind, I'll go along with your story. Acheron continued. I asked them to take me somewhere out of the family's sight, so I could contact a few trustworthy people. That means all of you. Ratio laughed suddenly, a rough, disbelieving sound. Trust? Ha, do you think I'm a fool? How about this? Let me put a few holes in you and see what secrets you're hiding, then we can talk about trust. No need for that, Acheron said calmly. I'll tell you everything you want to know, but not here and not yet. If my identity hadn't been exposed, we'd have had more time. The situation is urgent. Fortunately, Miss Ino is here. After a moment's hesitation, Ino found her courage. You? Were you also personally exiled by the Dream Master? Affected as well? Miss Ino, so were you, Acheron answered. Yes, Ino said. More precisely, the Dream Master tried to lock Chadwick and me inside a hidden memory zone. But I control that memory zone. It's one of the safest places in Penacony. I see, Acheron said. It seems the Dream Master considers the 2 geniuses and me likely to disrupt its plans. But more importantly, Miss Ino, do you already know the Dream Realm isn't a single layer? I only found out recently. We're actually in the 2nd layer of the Dream Realm right now, Ino admitted. Acheron shook her head slightly. When I unleashed my blade light, the power of the nihility collided with the Dream Realm and spread outward. I was able to trace the flow of that power and perceive the realm's structure. And the result is, she paused, looking around at them all. The Dream Realm, I'm afraid, has more than 2 layers. More than 2 layers of dreams. What the wubbaboo? Explain it to me clearly. What does that even mean? For my own reasons, I never trust memories as proof. I use feelings instead. And my feeling is this. Penacony, no, the entire Asdana star system, is wrapped in something. It's hiding its presence, but the sensation I get is very much like a dream. That's impossible, Dan Heng snapped back. Penacony's dream is built by the families using the power of harmony for someone or something to weave a dream that covers the whole Asdana system right under the family's nose and not be detected. That's absurd. Unless this is part of the Order Remnant's scheme. The Dream Master can construct a second layer of dream, so in theory, someone could weave a third. Or, the force behind the third layer has stronger control over harmony than the family and operates independently. It's not unheard of for one path to have multiple factions with different philosophies, but if such a faction exists, why isn't there any record of it in the Astral Express database? Shh. All of that is just speculation based on her feelings. That makes it really hard to prove anything. Ugh, where are you going all of a sudden? Eno moved to the observation car's radio and examined it carefully. Good. Before the Tai dream is fully woven, the Astral Express can receive information from both inside and outside the Asdana system and act as a relay. What are you going to do? I'm going to contact as many viruses in the interstellar network as I can reach, especially the kinds that can freely travel through memories. I'll have them enter the Asdana system through this relay. They'll self-replicate as fast as possible within the dream, spreading until they reach every corner, and I'll make sure they don't harm anyone innocent. This way, no matter how the dream shifts, I'll have a network that covers the whole thing. Once that network is in place, we can quickly determine how many layers the dream has and any other anomalies. That sounds powerful, but I have a question. The Dream Master said that in the Tai dream, everyone except Sunday will be trapped. How can you guarantee, Eno, that the massive viruses you send in won't become nourishment for the Tai dream, just like everyone else? It's simple. Most viruses don't understand wishes, and they don't have the physiological mechanism to dream. They operate on instinct. When the Dream Master and Sunday set out to use Order's dream to create an ideal utopia where everyone's equal, they had to categorize life. There are many types of life in the universe. I've seen beings from Ruanmei. Some die or are crippled upon contact with memories. Others are repelled as if by a wall when they try to interact with memories. On a cosmic scale, those are rare, and the Order remnants can always claim limitations or inevitable outcomes. But what about the Antimatter Legion? The Swarm? Some members of the Void Ranger and the Sting have independent thought and intelligence on par with primate life or intelligent machines. Will Order's utopia have a place for them? No. To satisfy the wishes of the Antimatter Legion or the Swarm would inevitably contradict the wishes of most other life forms. So if you treat the dream like a device, when illegal data enters it, the device won't behave according to its pre-programmed routine. Understood. With nothing more to do there, Eno returned to Penacony and headed straight for Lingmeng Lake. After she left, Ratio took a long moment to sort through the situation. My wubbaboo, it's so complicated. What else can we do? Danheng produced the Alliance Jade Talisman. I trust Eno, but if anything goes wrong, I will use this immediately. With General Jing Yuan and the Cloud Knights of Luofu supporting us, it should be enough to turn the tide. That thing can only be used once in a lifetime. Think carefully. Danheng looked at the talisman and nodded, his voice steady. I have thought it through. My companions are the kind of thing you only get once in a lifetime. At the same time, above the Penacony Grand Theater, ravens circled as Sunday arrived, summoned by the Dream Master. Mr. Gopherwood, you must know that several people have gone missing in the dream, including Sir Whitaker of the Robin family, and there have been murders, even Robin. I'm tracking the culprit. I've already identified a suspect. Why would you? Sunday, don't be so worked up. There is no real death in the dream. Robin is fine. She's just unable to attend for the moment. But the grand concert is supposed to start soon. That genius pieced our secret together from a few fragments. No dream in Penacony can hold her. With her efforts, our secret will spread among the families. The company fleet will assemble at Asdana soon. And the other Nameless are dangerous too. If everything proceeded as normal, I'm certain that before the orchestral gala even begins, we'd be struck down by a united front. I understand, sir. I will become the one who harmonizes all sounds. You've shown such intelligence since childhood. You must understand the price of what you're about to do. If you call this betrayal, there cannot be two suns in the sky. If necessary, I will strike down the sun. Gopherwood was silent for a moment, then spoke slowly. Sunday, do you believe in retribution? If retribution exists, then all beings face it. You have yours, I have mine. My retribution has nothing to do with you, Mr. Gopherwood. Ha ha! Since you've decided, then I will grant your wish. I still have one question. Who exactly is manipulating the dream with the Stellarons? Chapter 2. First Love. The raven raised its wing and made a shushing gesture. It really isn't you. I've said all I can. Do it. The 107,336 souls of the Oak family have dreamed of this moment too many times. Soon the ravens that had been circling above the Penacony Grand Theater fell silent and settled to the ground. It had been during the twilight hour when Distrol had rushed in, breathless, finally meeting the vigorous old man waiting for him, Ruifanji. Ruifanji frowned when he saw Distrol empty-handed. Could it be you failed? He asked. Distrol shook his head quickly. No, the Dewlight Pavilion was empty, only the memes stationed there. I could enter and leave freely, even without using my identity as a member of the Oak family. But on my way here, probably near Dreamflux Reef, I was attacked. When I woke up, I was back in reality, which is why I'm a little late. What? Distrol tapped his temple. Don't worry, it's all in my head. I can draw it out right away. He grabbed paper and a pen and sketched quickly. Ruifanji's expression lightened as he watched. He patted Distrol on the shoulder. Good, don't worry about the reward I promised you back then. It's time I made good on it. Ruifanji produced a small wooden box. Inside lay an object that shimmered faintly. Child, hold it, he instructed. Distrol did as told. For a moment his mind wavered. He thought he heard whispers at his ear. Then the feeling passed. He blinked, surprised. The shackles the family had placed on him felt gone, as if another force had washed them away. Mr. Ruifanji, this. Don't worry, Ruifanji said. From now on, neither the family head nor the Dream Master can use the power of harmony to coerce you into doing things you don't want, nor can they inspect or alter your memories at will. Child, you are free. Distrol stared, then let out the pressure he had carried for years in one long exhale. The so-called One Heart in harmony, it's just high-ranking family members forcing everyone else to adopt their views, he said, voice sharpening. Everyone in the family is equal, and high-ranking members respect lower-ranking members' opinions. What a lie. Take the orchestral gala, one word on Sunday, and all 107,336 family members are supposed to attend. Then they say, all those souls have been waiting for this moment. I don't care what everyone else thinks, but why do I have no expectations for this gala at all? From the day I joined the family, there's been a voice in my ear nagging about collective honor. I joined just to make a living. What the Penacony hell is collective honor? I never had any. Everything beyond my salary, you made me volunteer for using harmony. And the family bragging about humility and kindness. What does that have to do with them? The Penacony War of Independence was won because of Hanunu and the Watchmaker. The family is a gang that stole the Watchmaker's spoils, and yet you gild yourselves in gold. You're not worthy. Ruifanji watched Distrol's near-hysterical outpouring with a small, almost sad smile. He had seen this before, the slow burn of someone whose life had been shaped by coercion, finally snapping and demanding truth. Elsewhere, at the boundary between Reverie and the 12 Dreamscapes, countless disjointed images flashed through Stella's mind. Her thoughts tumbled. She only knew she was falling, until a cluster of flames wrapped around her and carried her to a stop. When she opened her eyes, the person before her was someone she had seen before, the Stellaron hunter Sam. Standing with the hunter was a tall mech that stirred an odd familiarity in her. Fragmented memories flickered, so old they went back to a time before she boarded the Astral Express. At the sight of Sam, a name slipped from her lips without thinking. Firefly. Sam froze. She had received a message from Eno and had deliberately withheld details from Stell. In the end, she chose to swallow the words she almost spoke. Stella shook her head and looked around at the unfamiliar surroundings. Where exactly is this? She asked. The seam between dreams, Sam said. I intended to appear before you earlier and tell you some truths, but I encountered far more resistance than expected. I tried many times and kept failing, Without realizing it, my connection to this place became too entangled, and escaping the constraints of the script was difficult. Elio was right. In this land of dreams, both you and I will gain unforgettable insights. I'm not as skilled at reading human hearts as he or Kafka, nor do I have Silver Wolf's or Blade's particular talents. Most of my strengths deal with villains who require no mercy. So the only thing I can do is show you everything I am. As Sam powered down the mech, something in Stella reacted. She sank to the ground, clutching her head, pain etching her face. Sam didn't immediately understand the cause. She suspected the memory zone and the influence of nihility, and she hurried to Stella's side, stroking her hair. "I don't know if this will help," Sam said softly, "but I hope it makes you feel a little better." Looking at the person in front of her, the fragments in Stella's mind finally clicked into place and formed a clear sequence of thought. It was as if she heard a promise. Will this journey together end abruptly? Maybe. But it's okay. Since you're here, our paths will meet again. You are alive. I will keep living. The separation won't be eternal. I'll try to forget this, seal it away in my mind. When we meet again, I will pretend we are strangers and get to know you anew. I want to find the courage to tell you how I feel, one day. What a day to look forward to. Two people, not accomplices anymore, just two souls drifting through the galaxy, meeting, getting to know each other normally. That would be the greatest luxury I can imagine. A tear slipped from Stella's eye. Instinctively, she reached for Sam, reaching for Firefly, and hugged her. For some reason, the contact filled her with an inexplicable calm. Sam froze for a heartbeat, then, unsure what else to do, returned the embrace and gently patted Stella's back. "No matter what happened just now," she murmured, "I'm here with you now." Chapter 174, Improving Relationships. After a while, Star's emotions finally settled. She had the nagging feeling that she'd forgotten something, but the last fragment of memory had no clear cause or effect, and she couldn't piece it together. Are you feeling better?" she asked. Firefly noticed the change and stopped fidgeting. Star nodded, though she didn't want to let go of Firefly's hand. "All right, we still have important things to do. Your friends might be worried." At that, Star let go and slowly got to her feet. "Next, let's leave this place. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and form a mental outline of the dreamscape. And whatever you do, don't open your eyes." Star did as she was told and closed her eyes. A sudden, sharp rush of memories slammed into her chest like a violent wave, churning everything up. Her consciousness felt like a scrap of paper caught in a whirlpool, shredded, dissolved, scattered in the dark current. Countless voices rolled through the memories like thunder, and one in particular rang clearly. She recognized it as the girl beside her. Their hearts fell into the same rhythm, steady, then steadier, until in the silent dark the memories settled into faint ripples. Other voices filtered in. Everyone seems fine. Reverie. The scenery here really is unlike the golden hour." Star opened her eyes. Firefly was smiling at her, and when she turned her head the other way, she found Alicia resting her chin on her hand, studying her with intense interest. "Star, has anyone ever told you that you're actually a very cute girl, too?" Alicia finished with a wink, then reached out with both hands and began to knead Star's cheeks. World-wearied Welt appeared behind Alicia. "A place you can only enter through death. I didn't expect that to be literal. It looks like a lot of long-standing problems could find answers here." Firefly scanned their surroundings. The atmosphere here isn't like a pretty dream. People live with their minds loose, without the kind of oversight the families provide. They're subtly dazed. From snippets I caught talking to residents, I heard a familiar name, Gallagher. "Of course him," Welt muttered. "He shows up at every crucial point. That saves us the trouble of looking for him. Himeko and March have already set off. Star, get yourself together. We're leaving immediately." Firefly glanced at Alicia, who was still reluctant to let go of Star. Well. Alicia tugged Firefly closer with her free hand. "Oh dear, there's another pretty girl here. I can't show favoritism." Her right hand kept kneading Star's cheek while the left drew Firefly in. "Since we're traveling together, it's important to get into the right state, and maybe cultivate some good feelings between us." Once Alicia finally released her, Star quickly reviewed what had happened in her head. Firefly was blushing. "So, why didn't you tell us who you really were from the start? The Astral Express and the Stellaron Hunters aren't strangers. Seeing no accusation in Star's face, Firefly visibly relaxed. There are two reasons. One is the script. In the vision Elio saw, conflict between Sam and the Astral Express was inevitable. I tried to break free from that prophecy, but I could only manage so much. And the other reason was selfishness. I wanted to travel with you as Firefly, not as Sam. It's fine. I don't mind, Star said. Thank you, Firefly replied softly. Star turned to Alicia. At Clocky Plaza, you didn't seem to act. What moment are you talking about? When Topaz swung his arm and chips rained from the sky? Or when Acheron swung her second blade at us? Alicia asked. Star looked to Welt for an explanation. Miss Acheron struck twice. The second strike was so fast that only Alicia saw the blade flash. That explains why Acheron was always so reluctant to draw her sword when we traveled together. I never imagined such terrifying power could be contained in that simple scabbard. If Topaz's power hadn't come from preservation, the whole dreamscape might have been affected by nihility. From what we've learned, it's highly likely Topaz was bound by harmony before confronting us at Clocky Plaza. That's probably why he urgently wanted Acheron to act, partly to test his theory about the dreamscape, and partly to use nihility's power to break harmony's constraints. So Alicia hadn't been unwilling to fight. She simply couldn't, Star concluded. Alicia tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and sighed dramatically. Oh dear, I thought I might finally get to show everyone my beautiful maiden combat form. Guess I'll have to save it for next time. So we need to find Gallagher then? Star asked. Yes, there are too many questions he needs to answer. Also, according to Eno's information, Ms. Robin is very likely here. We need a local like her to clarify some things. We also need to investigate Mikhail, Tiernan, and Lazarina and uncover the truth about the watchmaker. Firefly proposed they split up. You all could go to the trade district. There are more people there, so someone might know where Robin is. I'll try to find Gallagher. It's more efficient this way. Then we'll stay in contact, Welt said. Watching Firefly walk away, Star hesitated, on the verge of saying something. Alicia nudged her. Let her go. We need to observe before we decide whether she's trustworthy. Exactly, Alicia added with a grin. To win over a cute girl, you have to show restraint. Giving her room to act is a sign of trust. Before I woke up, had Firefly already talked to you? Star asked Welt. Welt pushed his glasses up. Yes. When we arrived at Reverie, she was already here. She revealed she was a Stellaron hunter and told us that after her previous death, she'd met Eno here. She didn't say much else. When she realized you weren't with us, she immediately rushed out. Chapter 175, Heresy. As soon as Star, Welt, and Alicia arrived in the trade district, a cry of alarm rang out. Ghost! Ghost, don't come any closer. The one shouting at the terrified local from PP West was none other than March 7th. Oh, I told you, I'm alive, you're alive. Can't you just act normal? Alicia, Uncle Yang, Star, you're here. Quick, help me. I met a member of one of the families on the road. He was so frightened, and I was only trying to calm him. But then, please, let me go. Let me go. I've accumulated virtue my whole life. Why can't I rest in peace even after death? The man wailed. When Star stepped up beside March 7th, she bowed slightly. Greetings, March 7th, ghost of the Reverie. March gave Star a playful flick on the head. I thought you were the ghost, but since you're in the mood for jokes, you must be fine. Firefly brought you here fast, no after effects. You've seen his symptoms. He keeps insisting he's dead. I had the same thought when I first fell in, March went on. The PP West man barely listened. He kept bawling. Woo-woo, I shouldn't have courted death by meddling with taboos, trying to sleep inside a dream. Curiosity kills PP West. What's wrong with sleeping in a dream? Star asked. Don't ask. It will attract the monsters. Everyone who's dead is here, all of them. Monsters? You don't mean mimetic entities, do you? March said. No sooner had she finished than a mimetic entity charged toward them. The PP West man fainted from fright. An archer who can't fight up close isn't much use, but Alicia proved the exception. When the mimetic entity lunged, she drew and released an arrow at less than half a meter. At that distance, it had no time to dodge. The arrow struck its abdomen. Imaginary energy shoved the thing out of sight. With a muffled thud, the mimetic entity fled. Wow, Alicia, that was amazing, Star said. but we can't leave him out on the street. We should take him somewhere safe. I know. Let's take him to Auntie Tracy's. While I was waiting for you, I met a lot of locals, March 7th chattered as she and Star carried the fainted man into Tracy's shop. They live self-sufficient lives. I don't know how to describe it, but compared to the 12 dreamscapes, this feels like the real dream world. Good evening, Auntie Tracy, Star called. These are my companions, and he is a coward who fainted from fright. After a short discussion, Tracy suggested they look for a girl of the Aeon of Finality who healed with song. Miss Robin is here, she said. March, where did Himeko go after she separated from you? We met several stowaways in the residential area earlier. Most came from neighboring star systems. It's said there are other places like the Reverie in Asdana's memories, little islands in the sea that existed before the families arrived. Himeko should still be gathering information. Look, there she is, and next to her is Miss Robin. March waved. Himeko brought Robin over. After a brief explanation, Robin used the power of harmony to soothe and heal the peepy West man. He's just startled, she said. He'll be fine soon. Miss Himeko has already explained the situation outside to me. My disappearance caused a commotion. I'm sorry. Since I returned to Penacony, my voice has been abnormal, gradually deteriorating, Robin continued. At first, I thought it was an accident. Maybe I'd been away too long and I wasn't used to Asdana's dense memory environment. But now it seems the source isn't me. Something around me is incompatible with harmony. Losing my voice is one of the signs the beautiful dream is collapsing. While I was away from Penacony, the boundaries of the 12 dreamscapes kept expanding outward, she went on. But whenever I spoke of anomalies, the family heads grew tight-lipped. Only my brother would answer. Then a company envoy sent a secret letter that convinced me an unspeakable secret lay beneath Penacony's splendor. Following a few clues in the Oak family archives, I found this place. A site of exile, the family hid under the name Death. A dream within a dream that buried Penacony's past. Now that I hear it, Miss Robin, your voice seems a little better? Star observed. Perhaps, but the fact remains, Robin said. Harmony here is actually more widespread than in the beautiful dream, even though many residents don't have a firm belief in Saipe. That suggests something is wrong. Maybe Miss Lena was right, March muttered. Robin's expression changed. Miss Lena Martina was a dream researcher of the Robin family, living between the 4th and 3rd Amber Eras. She took a breath and began the story from the start. Since the families began governing the Amber Era, the 5 great families believed harmony grew stronger by bringing more people into the families, by increasing the number of believers in Saipe. If you think that way, then by simple logic groups like the Swarm or the Antimatter Legion would embody harmony more than the families, because they are larger and united for a purpose. So Lena argued the families fundamentally misunderstood what harmony is, Robin said. She believed harmony should be able to encompass everything, even other paths. If a group shares a least common denominator, if they can be united by something other than belief in Saipe, harmony should be able to bind them. In groups that respect and tolerate one another, individuals with different beliefs, so long as the gods they follow truly exist, could use harmony as a medium to feel their god's will. Lena's final conclusion was this. Making Shipe the only melody in the universe is a betrayal of harmony. Letting her voice lead a symphony of different voices, that is the true practice of the path of harmony. Robin sighed. For a family member to voice such opinions, her fate was sealed. The families labeled her views heresy and quietly eliminated her before the ideas could spread. If I hadn't consulted the Oak family's confidential archives, I would not even have known she existed. Chapter 176, Pinocchio's Past. Alicia and Welt exchanged a look, then told Robin what they'd discovered earlier at the Dewlight Pavilion. How could the Song of the Myriad Strings variations? The Dewlight Pavilion was unguarded. Someone must have taken it before you arrived. Welt frowned. It looks like things inside the family are more complicated than we thought. So the author of that manuscript. It was Miss Reyna, Robin confirmed. Then, Miss Robin, can you tell us exactly what's in the Song of the Myriad Strings variations? Alicia asked. Robin shook her head. I'm sorry, all of Miss Rena's research uses her own encryption, Within the Robin family, only a very small number of people can decode it. I've seen the manuscript, but I can't understand its contents. It seems we'll have to put this aside for now. Let's return to Penacony, Welt said. All right. Robin's voice grew cold. Whether you consider Mistrode, Rena's definitions, or the family's original doctrine, there are now traitors within the family. He or they have abandoned their principles and, in the name of harmony, exploited people's weaknesses and turned Penacony into a festive star drowned in illusory dreams. That's not helping the weak with strength. It's forcing the weak with strength. A world that sacrifices equality will not remain favored by harmony, and the voices blessed by it naturally cannot sing. Miss Robin, Welt said, is it possible that the family's ideological change was caused by another force? Based on Miss Himeko's case, unless something above an emissary intervenes, it's hard to imagine any other will that could influence everyone within the domain of harmony. I've heard about the Xianzhou Alliance's troubles, Robin answered. But as far as I know, there's no external force meddling with the family. Then again, I've been away from home a long time. There could be things I don't know. In any case, I cannot accept my homeland walking the opposite path of harmony while claiming to follow it. So, Alicia said, to find out why the watchmaker broke with the family and who decided to betray it, you made a deal with Mr. Mackay. You gave up your chance to perform on the orchestral gala stage. If you want to find the truth in the reverie, Robin said, come with me to meet Mr. Mackay. He told me he's meeting a very important person, Gallagher. Soon the Astral Express crew and Robin found Mackay, the reverie administrator, at Timeshare Plaza. Standing with him were Firefly and Gallagher. Mackay clapped his hands. Everyone's here. Esteemed members of the Astral Express and Ms. Robin, I know you have many questions. Before I speak plainly, allow me to reintroduce the man who sent the invitation. Gallagher stepped forward. I am Gallagher, the founder of the Reverie, the watchmaker's deputy, and the one who sent that invitation. I am the imaginary historian. March 7th crossed her arms and snapped. You, imaginary historian, so everything you told us before was made up, huh? Gallagher blinked, then shrugged. Well, most of it was true. How about this? I'll take this chance to lay out the entire history of Penacony. Maybe then you'll find the answers you're looking for. I swear by the watchmaker's name that every word I'm about to say will be true. Begin, they said. A long time ago, the Enigmata carved numerous vents along the boundary between the universe and the memory zone. The Asdana star system was one of those great pores where the memory zone leaked through and filled the system with memory. The outside world couldn't observe it directly. Only pathstriders of memory and others who had special methods could enter and leave at will. Around Amber Era 2145, the company arrived and intended to turn the system into a prison planet for criminals. In Amber Era 2146, the prison planet officially began operation. The company forced prisoners to salvage the leaking memories from the Great Pores. Repeated exposure to those memories during labor gradually created a shared dreamscape. Thousands of individual dreams began to overlap, and people met and lived in those dreams as if they were reality. In Amber Era 2147, Hanunu was sentenced to life for orchestrating the Montour star system unrest. His place of confinement was what is now Penacony. That same year, the cancer of all worlds erupted. With jailers' oppression mounting, even dreams no longer eased people's suffering. Under those conditions, Hanunu ignited a massive uprising and scored initial victories. The star casket's influence cut the Asdana star system off from the outside, greatly reducing the company's control over this frontier prison. To crush the rebellion, the company invited outside forces to help its frontier garrison. The Astral Express, because of its dealings with the star casket, was among those invited. But when they arrived, they realized this was not a mutiny, but prisoners fighting for their survival. The Astral Express chose to side with Hanunu. It wasn't until Amber Era 2049 that Hanunu's forces, joined by the Nameless, the Harbinger Vanguard, the Masked Fools, and the Imaginary Historians, won the War of Independence. In the final battle, Hanunu detonated the ammunition depot to destroy the company's main ship. He was gravely wounded and died not long afterward. Mikhail and Tiernan stayed behind to rebuild this war-scoured planet and to try to realize Hanunu's unfinished dream. What about Lazarina? Alicia asked. That ties back to the star casket, Gallagher said. Although the casket cut the company off, it also polluted the local environment. After the cancer of all worlds erupted, the chaotic synesthesia dreamscape once swallowed the entire prison. A great many prisoners and guards, Hanunu among them, were swept into the primal dreamscape for a time. During the War of Independence, the planet had to resist both the company's fleet and the erosion of the primal dreamscape. Near the end of the war, to investigate the cause of that primal dreamscape, Lazarina piloted a shuttle into the memory zone alone and never returned. Gallagher paused, then added, "You're probably wondering why I went to such lengths to stage an inheritance conflict, why I sent invitations to so many factions and threw Penacony into chaos. The answer is the star casket. Penacony is now open and unobstructed, a hub for interstellar travel in every direction, and there are no visible signs of contamination. How could that possibly be related to the star casket?" He turned his gaze to Welt. "Mr. Welt is absolutely correct. So what do you think that means?" 177, because the Stellaron has been sealed. Gallagher gave a wry smile. "I'll take that for a nice thought. If it were true, I wouldn't have needed to invite any of you. Beautiful dreams don't appear by themselves. If you picture the memory zone as a vast ocean, building a land of dreams is like filling in the turbulent waters to create solid ground. To do something like that, unless an emissary of the memory or the enigmata intervenes, the only other way is to use a Stellaron. And it's not something you achieve with a wish. It takes considerable knowledge, time, and manpower to make it seamless. So, now you should understand. The current festive star is a Stellaron disaster originating in Asdana." The festive star is a Stellaron disaster? Do you remember when we talked about the end of the War of Independence? After the Watchmaker and his companions liberated the frontier prison, they had no blueprint for rebuilding Penacony. Internal and external problems never stopped. Gradually, 7 great families formed in Penacony: tree, grass, flower, bird, beast, fruit, and swarm. They seemed unified on the surface, but in truth, each acted independently, and disputes were constant. At first, the Clover family colluded with the company and wiped out the Black Plum family in the White Desert incident. Then the son of the first Clover patriarch overthrew his father. And that's when someone turned their eyes toward the Stellaron. At the time, under the Nameless influence, most people refused to meddle with such power. But there were always those with other designs, quietly stirring trouble. The turning point came in the 10th year after the war, when Tiernan and the Firefly family encountered the Swarm on an external expedition and vanished. The successive losses of 2 nameless companions forced Mikhail to throw himself into the front line of the frontier effort. His long absence gave his opponents an opening. By the time family representatives from the Montour star system answered his call, the Stellaron had been activated and had infiltrated the original synesthetic dreamscape. The Montour delegates just happened to know more about the Stellaron than most. They quickly helped Mikhail suppress the internal unrest and then joined the rebuilding of Penacony under the name of Harmony. That period, 3 Amber Eras, became known as the Dream-Chasing Era, during which Mikhail, kept in the dark, issued invitations across the universe and set off a craze for a land of dreams. So how did they turn on each other? Remember the sea-to-land analogy? The truth is, the Stellaron wasn't actually sealed. It was simply manifested differently inside the dream. Think about it. What does it cost to build and maintain such a vast, beautiful dream? Life. The magnificent dream was built on mental death. A poisonous wine called happiness runs through it. People drink and become addicted, their minds gradually drifting toward the same endpoint until they become the placenta of that dream. Confusion, laziness, cowardice, human weaknesses were amplified and cultivated by the families. Penacony turned into a new kind of prison, one far harder to break than the last. We realized it too late. By then the families were immensely powerful. Dissenters were quickly controlled or expelled. I had no choice but to use the Enigmata's power to hide in this chaotic memory zone, and I spent years fabricating a meme within the dream for us to use. This is the truth behind Penacony's key events over the past 10 Amber Eras. Miss Robin, as a Pathstrider of Harmony, what are your thoughts? Robin was silent for a moment. If the families have truly betrayed harmony, then the most important thing is to stop the grand concert and seal the Stellaron. Oh, so you already know where the Stellaron might be? It's only a guess, but if the Stellaron is the cause of this death, then it should be hidden in a building of the beautiful dream in the Penacony Grand Theater. Or the Penacony Grand Theater itself could be the Stellaron. Everyone, I have to return to the 12 Dreamscapes immediately. Whoever the traitor in harmony is, I must stop their plot. Whoever, including the Dream Master and your brother? Someone asked. Robin hesitated, then her gaze hardened. Yes. In that case, I'll go back with her, Alicia said before Welt could speak. Alicia, Welt began. Is that a problem? If Robin is going into the dream to face the mastermind, the risk won't be small. If anything happens to such a beautiful girl, I'd be devastated, Alicia teased. Ah, thank you. Besides, Eno hasn't heard from me in so long. She might be feeling very lonely, Alicia added with a playful smile. The Reverie and the 12 Dreamscapes can't communicate normally. We do need someone to go back and synchronize the situation with Eno. All right, leave first. Once we finish here, we'll rendezvous with you. Soon Alicia and Robin left Reverie, riding a sleepy, and landed smoothly in the golden hour. Alicia received a message from Eno and synchronized her findings. Robin read, froze for a few seconds, then recovered. She had been braced for bad news, but learning that her brother and Gopherwood, the one who raised her, were the masterminds, still tightened something in her chest. Miss Alicia, let's go, she said. On the way to the Penacony Grand Theater, they felt a flicker before their eyes and encountered Himeko, who had returned. Himeko, what's the situation? Robin asked. Himeko shook her head. Not good. According to the family's original plan, the grand concert should still be more than 9 system hours away. But now the Tai Dream needs at most half a system hour to cover the entire Asdana star system. In the dream, many people have already slipped into a special state without realizing it. They can't communicate normally. Robin, I'm afraid there isn't enough time to persuade Mr. Sunday. What do you need us to do? Alicia asked. To fundamentally shake the Tai Dream, there's essentially one thing: wake the people trapped inside. I will use the songs of harmony to attune people, Robin said, but with my strength alone, I can only awaken those with the strongest will. Just then, one of the PP West performers who had been dancing wildly seemed to be struck by something, and then vanished from the spot. 178, Paradise and Prison. What is going on? It seems Eno's plan is finally taking effect. Acheron reacted quickly. It appears a large number of memory parasitizing viruses have spread across Penacony. These viruses can affect both the dream itself and the people inside it. If the dream is a wildly addictive game, their goal was simple: how to make addicted players stop playing. Robin had tried the moral route, appealing to emotions and reason, carefully explaining the dangers of game dependency. Those with strong willpower might listen. Eno took a different, two-pronged approach. She flooded the server with bots and scripted accounts to crash it. Real players who were disconnected waited and then couldn't log back in. Naturally, they stopped playing. She also hacked other accounts and deliberately performed rule-breaking operations to get them banned, or dismantled them altogether to provoke frustration and force players to quit. To make a large number of people wake from their dreams in a short time, you don't make them realize they should wake up. You make them have no choice but to wake up. Now the crucial step has been achieved, Acheron continued. To destroy the Tai Dream, only one final move remains: stop Sunday from starting the grand concert. But we're on the brink of that event, and the Penacony Grand Theater will be heavily defended. Forcing our way in would waste too much time. She placed her hand on the suba of her sword. Nihility will not be affected by the Tai Dream, and it will in turn corrode order. If this blade is unsheathed again, the remnants of order will fight back to preserve themselves. At that moment, you'll all have your chance to face Sunday directly. Indeed, there's no better option, Miss Acheron. Please be careful. Robin and Alicia encountered no resistance as they made their way to the Grand Theater. There were no family members swarming to intercept Acheron, and the two of them arrived unimpeded. In the very center of Penacony, Sunday stood calmly. He had no visible guards. His face showed only mild surprise at their arrival. "I knew someone would come, but I didn't expect it to be you, Robin, and Miss Alicia," he said. Robin looked at her brother and shook her head warily. She knew him all too well. This calm, confident air meant he was not open to argument until he'd walked himself into something. "So you're very confident in your plan, huh?" "Miss Alicia, I understand your concerns, and I do not underestimate Miss Eno or any of you. That is precisely why I started the grand concert early. I know that at a moment like this, a single slip could mean total failure. Yet I will not give up because of fear. Consider Miss Eno's tactics a test. If the Tai dream can't withstand the challenge of a genius, it only proves it cannot be the ideal place where everyone fulfills their roles. You, who can only sustain your existence inside the dream right now, must understand what it means for you if the Tai dream is completed," he went on, addressing Alicia directly. Alicia's eyes flicked to him. "You said currently, didn't you? Who's to say I couldn't exist in the real world someday?" "But the future is unknown. In a chaotic, ruthless future where people trample each other, unless you have extraordinary luck, you have to fight brutally to win the life you want. Miss Alicia, if the future is chaos and likely still filled with suffering, would you still gamble everything on that slim chance?" "In the past, when faced with similar choices, I never hesitated for a moment," she replied. "I understand. You're admirable, but our paths diverge. If you are so resolved, then cut off my path yourself." Sunday's feet left the ground. He floated slowly upward. A powerful presence surged from the Grand Theater and merged into him. "Now, I grant you the right to look directly at the sun. Upon these 107,336 bedrock foundations, the omnipotent chords of harmony serve me. Dominicus, chorister of praises, resonant choir." A chorus of power answered him. Elsewhere, under the twilight hour, Ruifanji looked out over the scene. Behind him were hundreds of family members, most from the Robin family, and at the front of the ranks stood Distrol, the lone representative of the Oak family, his expression burning with determination. "The notes Senior Reina left have been decoded," Ruifanji said. "The remnants of order have begun their performance. We need to get ready." He turned and fixed his gaze on Distrol. "The Oak family has largely become Sunday's puppet, but you are an exception. The head of the Oak family cannot control your mind the way he controls the other 107,335. Distrol's excitement showed. "Then, can you free the other Oak family members like me from Harmony's control?" Ruifanji smiled grimly. "Of course, that's exactly what we intend to do, but not here. Penacony is a gathering place for many forces right now. It's too dangerous. Accidents are likely." He paced a little and spoke more sharply. "To build a paradise that satisfies everyone under a single order? Sunday, is he naive or willfully blind? Does he really think he understands order better than Tai? Tai was consumed by Shipe because, however it was dressed up, any paradise founded on a single order is, at its core, a prison that confines all living things. Does he imagine Dominicus can match the emissary of nihility, or does he truly believe Harmony is master of this dream?" 179, Chapter Chaos. A little earlier, during the golden hour, Black Swan returned to the dream from the Astral Express. She soon spotted Robin on the street, handing out small props to guests. When no one else was nearby, she drifted over. "Still having fun, fool?" she asked. As a memo keeper, Black Swan recognized at once that Robin was Sparkle in disguise. Sparkle dropped the act and sighed dramatically. "Sigh, why are you like that? Genius, blowing the reveal that should be saved for the finale? Where's the fun in that?" "This is urgent. I couldn't help it. If you plan to upend all of Penacony, the button you carry seems a bit redundant." Black Swan used her memo keeper ability to quickly share her earlier observations. Sparkle studied the memories, a smirk forming. Not bad. That chicken wing boy is more interesting than I thought, memo keeper. Do you think he'll win?" Black Swan shook her head. "No chance. Mr. Sunday wants to use the power of order to lock everyone into a beautiful dream. That means declaring war at once on the Memo Keeper, the Genius, the Erudition Society, Nameless, the Sea Ranger, the Emissary of Nihility, the Masked Fool, the Company, the Knights of Beauty, and the other families. Even the Annihilation Gang wouldn't dare offend so many at once." "So, you're here for something else?" Sparkle's tone brightened. I read the memories in your head. I think you know what I mean. Sigh. Fine. I wanted to play with you a little longer. Sparkle stalked off with a swagger and led Black Swan to a tall building not far from the Dreamjolt hostelry. Two blue-haired men were standing before a wall, pointing at something. All sorts of strange things show up in this dream. Could this be a prank? One of them said. Use your head. A prank is meant to fool people. If you hide it where no one can see it, it fails as a prank. This was part of the dream from the beginning. What? It was here from the start? Professor Ratio, don't scare me. Black Swan joined them. A masked fool and a professor from the Erudition Society together. Unusual. The blue-haired man on the left turned around. Yo, the professional's here. Miss Black Swan, why don't you appraise it? Ratio stepped aside, gesturing, and Black Swan moved into their place. She froze. In a crack in the wall lay a translucent, egg-shaped object. She slid her hand into the fissure and frowned. According to the object's signature, that's a sting egg, but it's very unusual, capable of hatching within memories. No sooner had she spoken than a crack formed on the egg. Moth-like forelimbs pushed out, then the rest of a small, winged insect wriggled free. Ratio reacted fast. As the forelimbs emerged, he flung the chalk in his hand at it and smashed the sting back into the wall. A violet, crystalline hand shot up from the ground and crushed the creature into shards. Sampo wiped his brow. My goodness, it really was a sting egg, but Ratio finished. Why did it appear here? How many more are in this dream? Black Swan sighed. I can answer the first part. According to Miss Eno, she encountered stings in a dream shortly after arriving in Penacony. She and I, along with other memo keepers, have investigated without a lead until Miss Himeko suggested that Penacony contains multiple dreams. Then it became clear. The swarm, which can survive within dreams, has long existed in a hidden dream. Ordinarily, that hidden dream wasn't connected to the current reality of the Asdana star system or to the other dreams of Asdana. That's why the family couldn't find traces of the swarm for so many Amber eras. When the Tai dream formed, it linked that hidden dream to the Asdana star system and allowed the swarm to enter. Now, a large number of viruses are spreading through the Asdana star system, disrupting the entire memory zone. That disruption could have caused a sting egg, normally destined to hatch elsewhere, to end up here. If that's true, the mastermind can construct independent dreams, cultivate the swarm inside them, and hide that cultivation from the family. The situation is probably more serious than we thought. Sampo stepped back. Then what are we waiting for? Let's head out and call for reinforcements. Sparkle kicked him in the rear. Are you stupid? The chicken-winged boy is going to trap us all inside with the Tai dream. Do you think he'll let us leave? Black Swan gazed toward the horizon, worried. Besides, if a lot of people with weak willpower are warped to the Asdana star system now, they'll fall into a dream as soon as they arrive. That would only make the Tai dream more unshakable. Then we can't just sit here and wait to die, can we? Sampo demanded. Ratio checked the time. Our most likely external reinforcement is the company's fleet, but even they will take time. For now, we need to find clues, identify suspicious people, realize as quickly as possible that we're in a dream once the Tai dream completes, break free, and then continue gathering evidence. That's the plan. With that, Ratio walked off. All right, it's time for us to move as well. There are a few interesting folks in the family. Sparkle strutted toward the dreamscape border. Sampo glanced around a while longer, then finally followed. Lingmeng Lake. Using the parameters Chadwick had given after calibrating the error, Eno had corroded the surrounding memories and reconstructed them, molding them into one precise device after another. When the preparations were finished, Chadwick checked everything again. No problems now. Honestly, before I met you, Eno, I never imagined one person could create all the equipment for an experiment from scratch in such a short time. That's because I can manipulate memories within a certain range, Eno replied. In a dream, memories can theoretically become anything. In my hometown, someone was once exiled to a deserted island without even simple tools. In a few months, she managed to manufacture firearms and ammunition to arm hundreds of people. I have most of her memories, but I still don't understand how she did it. Compared to her, I'm the real amateur. 180. Chapter Confusion. Oh then, this genius. To save the world, she sacrificed herself before the apocalypse. Her enemies were beings that could wrap the imaginary tree's tendrils around reality, rewrite physical laws across higher dimensions, and reset entire civilizations to their starting point. In front of such entities, even a genius like her couldn't stop civilization's collapse. Still, what she left behind for this age and the next was enough to change history. She is a hero worthy of respect. Ino, even with all the preparations, I must remind you. I know, no matter how thorough our preparations, there's always a chance the experiment could fail. We can make at most one mistake. After 2 experiments, this dreamland will cease to exist. One moment. Ino noticed a virus spreading through this section of the memory zone. Okay, I understand. Keep the other orders the same. Notify other units to avoid this area. After the communication, she visibly relaxed. Looks like I don't need to worry about Alicia at all, she said. Chadwick, the experiment, begin. Penacony Grand Theater. Facing the harmonious choir, the Lord of Sunday, that had manifested before her, Robin startled for a moment, then steadied herself. Using the power of order to seize Harmony's authority, Miss Alicia, since the grand concert began prematurely, the harmonious choir before us can't access the full strength of a harmony emissary. Crafting this beautiful dream is enough, Alicia replied. The Lord of Sunday waved his arms and sent countless sound waves at them from every direction. Alicia raised her right hand, and pink crystals bloomed, encasing the 2 of them and absorbing the assault. The pressure the Lord of Sunday exerted was less than what Fantelia could muster, but this was not Scale Gorge Waterscape. This was Penacony, Sunday's home turf. By every measure, the odds weren't much better than when she faced Fantelia alone. Yet Alicia remained unnervingly calm. Like her role in Scale Gorge Waterscape, she wasn't meant to finish Sunday, only to draw his attention long enough for Dan Heng and Jing Yuan to land the decisive blows. The principle was the same. Clocky Plaza. Himeko stood before the great screen she had previously cleaved in 2, staring toward the Penacony Grand Theater. The information flowing through her senses told her the time had come. Unlike Topaz, who had shouted, "If your sisters, come cut me," Himeko inhaled deeply and lifted the katana above her head, sliding it slowly free from its sheath. May I weep for the departed? Images of Izumo flashed through her mind. As the blade left the scabbard, a streak of blood-like tears fell from her eyes. Weep like rain, fill the river. The whole of Clocky Plaza drained of color in an instant. As the monochrome spread, a vortex swelled outward from Himeko, leaving a vacuum in its wake. Surge like a tide, guide them home. She gathered herself and struck. A terrifying blade of light advanced without mercy, rending the dreamland across the Asdana star system. The Lord of Sunday, Himiko's locked target, took the brunt of the blow. Where the red blade cut, cracks crawled over the Lord of Sunday's form. Sunday, who controlled him, felt his mind stutter. For a fleeting moment, all his concepts, every action in the world, felt meaningless. He seemed to wake from a dream and began waving his arms desperately, as if trying to grasp something in the encroaching darkness. He felt his power being siphoned away. In his hazy consciousness, images flashed by, scenes from when he had still been the duotone in the Oak family. It was a bright sunny afternoon. A panicked dreamer stumbled into his room and sank to his knees. I repent with all my heart. Please forgive me, he cried. Sunday didn't know why the man was so agitated, but his natural compassion and professional duty made him smile in the familiar, reassuring way. Be at ease. I have asked him to be with us. If your heart is honest and kind, you will receive forgiveness. Relief made the dreamer clutch at him like a drowning man clutching a straw. Oh, good. Actually, I sneaked into Penacony. To buy a ticket, I sold everything, my house, my land, even my 2 children. He trembled as he confessed. Sunday's hands tightened into fists to keep his voice gentle. Please continue. If they stayed with me, they would starve. As slaves, at least they would get food. If I make it there, I'll buy them back and raise them well. I understand. The family welcomes everyone. I will tell the Hound family to stop searching. From now on, you need not live in fear, Sunday soothed. The dreamer bowed so low it was almost violent. Thank you. I'll work hard to redeem my children and join the family. Praise harmony. Years later, that same dreamer found commercial success. He rose through the ranks and gained influence. He could not match Aventurine, head of the Clover family, but he became an ambitious, notable figure. When he plotted to seize control from the Clover family, the Hound family discovered the conspiracy before it began. The man was permanently expelled. When Sunday asked about the two children, the expelled man sneered. Children? What children? Another bright afternoon. A wealthy Peepee West man swaggered into Sunday's room. Sunday offered his usual gentle smile. I have implored him to be with us. You may begin. The Peepee West man looked impatient. Ugh, fine. Let's follow the prescribed procedure. Cough, cough! I made a mistake. Forgive my sin. I wasted half a pizza at breakfast and a bottle of soda. That's it. Do you still have lines to recite? I'm rushing to the motorball match. Sunday maintained the ritual. Do you wish to atone through good deeds, to accept punishment for your sins? The Peepee West man laughed as if it were a joke. Punishment? Start acting like a saint. Why don't you? Let me tell you, the family has no right to judge me, and neither do you. Screw you, chicken wing head. I'm not falling for your act. Go fool those dreamers, but don't fool yourselves. Think before you recite those scriptures. What really gives the Oak family its status? What allows you to sit here well-fed and high above others? Is today's confession enough for me to get into Harmony Amusement Park? No? Then I'm off. He left without looking back.